Hello everyone, I'm Sophie and I'm currently at Kechara Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. Today I will continue reading from this book. This is by Pastor David Lai with stories that Rinpoche has shared with him. Tales my Lama told me. And today I'll be reading from chapter 1, The Snobbish Saint. And before that, let me go to a picture to share so that you do not have to watch me reading. And I think it should be this. Yes, it is. Okay. Right. Tales my Lama told me. Chapter 1. The Snobbish Saint. Page 17. One of the earliest stories of Guru devotion that I heard from Rinpoche was the tale of an ancient Brahmin. I remember at the time I was with Rinpoche in his personal library and he was going over some books. Soon our conversation led to Rinpoche relating the story of the Snobbish Saint, followed by an illuminating explanation on Guru devotion, which held me spellbound. This wonderful tale is the first story in the book, not only because it is one of my favorite stories, but also because it reminds me of the many times I myself felt stuck with self-made rules, superficial appearances, and other people's opinions. The moral of this story is about freeing oneself from such limitations. In the old Indian kingdom of Manidhara, there lived a Mahasiddha known as Bhadrapa. His name means the snob in Sanskrit, probably because he was a Brahmin of the highest social caste. Just as in the case of all members of the Brahmin priesthood, the highest caste in India's social caste system, Bhadrapa had to oversee all religious ceremonies and rituals to appease the gods. In order to perform his duties well, one of the conditions he had to fulfill was to remain ritually pure. Hence, his entire life was dictated by the strict rules of conduct laid out within ancient texts that govern the ritual purity of his caste. Like all Orthodox Brahmins, Bhadrapa would not drink wine, consume pork, or go to unclean places such as charnel grounds. He would not have been permitted to associate with people of lower castes, such as sweepers, washers, meat sellers, and wine sellers. This also meant that he could not have physical contact with any of these people. He would not even be allowed within close proximity to them, nor allowed to speak to them. And, of course, he would never be allowed to have such people come into his house. Contravention of any of the above would defile him. Once a Brahmin was defiled, his peers would ostracize him and he would end up a social outcast. The Brahmin was a fastidious priest and such a stickler to the ancient rules that not only had he never eaten pork or drank wine, he had never even dared utter those profane words. On top of that, he would not allow any menstruating women to be in his presence, and he would never work up a sweat so as to avoid becoming dirty. That was how fanatical he was with his practice. Those suffocating rules governed his entire life. In everyone's eyes, the Brahmin was incredibly rich, educated, powerful, and well respected for his exemplary conduct. But he was highly insecure and constantly concerned about how people regarded him. He was always worried about others' opinions of him and was adamant in maintaining his untarnished reputation. Usually he would only keep the company of his high-browed Brahmin friends. One day they left early for their ablutions, and he was alone at home. Then he heard a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he was shocked to see a wiry-haired mendicant in rags standing on his doorstep. The mendicant greeted the Brahmin and begged for food. Since he was alone, the Brahmin had no choice but to respond to the yogin. He instinctively waved him off and shouted at him, "Go away, you are dirty and you defiled my home." He had to get the ugly, smelly, lice-ridden old yogin out of his home quickly before anyone saw him associating with this unclean person for fear of ruining his reputation and being defiled. However, the yogin was unperturbed and asked indignantly, "What do you mean by dirty?" What do I mean by dirty?" shouted the enraged Brahmin, regarding his unwanted guest with contempt. "You have not washed yourself and you are wearing filthy rags. And what's that in your hand? You have a food bowl made of a human skull and you smell really bad." "That is what I mean. You are obviously from a very low caste. Now go away before any of my friends sees you." Unmoved by the frantic shouts, the yogin stood right where he was and gazed unwaveringly at the Brahmin. "That is not what makes you dirty," he said. "What makes you dirty is aggression in your action, speech, and mind. Now that is really dirty. The subtle defilements of the mind are very dirty. There is no soap in this world that can wash a dirty mind. Only the Guru's instructions can truly cleanse one of such impurities." Upon hearing this, the Brahmin was surprisingly receptive, and so the yogin was inspired to continue, this time by breaking into a song of advice to him. The Brahmin was moved by the song and wanted to hear more. The yogin thought about this for a while before saying, "All right, bring me some food and I will give you more teachings." "Okay, I will bring you some food," replied the Brahmin. But he suddenly remembered how he would look among his friends if he was seen giving food to a dirty low-caste mendicant. "I'll give you some food, but my friends have no faith. If they see me here with you, I'll be ostracized. Let me come to your place instead, and I will offer you some food then." "All right," said the yogin. "Meet me tonight at the charnel ground nearby, where the dead are cremated." As he walked away, he stopped and seemed to be deep in thought for a moment before saying, "By the way, when you come, please bring me some pork and liquor." Bhadrapa was horrified at the request, as that was the biggest taboo in his books. "I can't do that. What if someone saw me?" The yogin snapped, "Well, if you want the Dharma, do as I say. Bring me pork and liquor, and we shall meet at the cremation grounds." "Okay, but it will have to be tonight," the Brahmin sheepishly agreed. And the yogin walked away without saying anything more. After the yogin left, Bhadrapa started to worry. His image, name, caste, and all that he stood for were at stake. The tremendous disgrace that would befall him if he was caught disturbed his mind. Everything the yogin asked of him was totally against his belief. How was he going to buy those unimaginable items that the yogin had demanded? It would cause a huge social scandal if he was caught doing that. Just thinking about purchasing the pork and liquor made him shudder, let alone actually going out and buying them. He paced back and forth, trying to find a solution. Then suddenly he thought of a wonderful plan. He would disguise himself as a low-caste servant and shop for those things without being detected. The very thought of carrying out such a task was degrading, but he wanted to hear the instructions from the yogin so badly that he went ahead with his plan. At nightfall, when everyone was asleep, he crept out of his mansion, disguised in a cloak with the forbidden items in his hands. He moved fast and headed to the charnel grounds, a desolate and lonely place lit by moonlight. The Guru appeared out of a little hovel and welcomed him. It was made of dry mud, excrement and urine, mixed together and thrown onto bamboo. The Brahmin was disgusted to see this hut, but he tried to ignore it so he could focus on the guru. His guru, the yogin, welcomed him into his hovel. He was preparing supper and insisted that the Brahmin share the food with him. He could not believe that the guru was asking him to do all that he considered to be taboo and insisted that he share the food. After the Brahmin forced himself to consume his portion of the food, the guru gave him an initiation into a sacred practice and a Dharma talk. Then he began to give the Brahmin through Then he began to put the Brahmin through a series of practices to break his pride. The guru instructed his student to clean out the latrine, a task forbidden for his caste. After completing the task, the guru then asked him to plaster the walls of his shack with a mixture of mud, excrement, and lime. The guru explained that the task was a symbolic display of right actions. For the white color of lime is symbolic of the non-duality of all things, which is in line with correct meditation. After going through the difficulties in performing his guru's instructions, the Brahmin finally managed to complete the task to his guru's satisfaction. His master explained that all these were symbolic acts that were necessary for him to achieve the goal of his practice. It was upon hearing this that a sudden clear understanding of the Dharma arose in the Brahmin's mind. At this point, he was at the threshold of realizing profound emptiness. It was also at this point, from just the teachings that he had learned from his teacher, that he made the decision to immediately give up all the luxuries and the prejudices of his privileged Brahmin caste to join his guru and become a yogin. The service and practices which his guru had put him through were meant to break his most destructive trait, his strongest delusion, which was his pride. This was the beginning, and after 6 years of intensive meditation, he achieved Mahamudra Siddhi, or enlightenment, and became renowned far and wide as the auspicious teacher, Bhadrapa. From then on, he traveled great distances to teach and benefit many. When the time came for him to ascend to Kachara paradise, the celestial paradise of Buddha Rajayogini, 500 disciples were said to have been able to go with him without leaving their bodies. The guru had skillfully led the former Brahmin to realize the correct view. He transformed him by destroying his ego and pride, thus releasing him from his attachments and bringing him to total freedom. And that was the end of the story, that the first chapter, the Snobbish Saint. And as you can see, how skillfully a guru can break a person's mind from illusions or delusions and to bring him on the path towards enlightenment. It's just, it reminds me so much of how Rinpoche would set tasks for us to overcome our own limitations so that we will go out beyond, and be able to find a solution or overcome whatever that we thought must be that way. So thank you for sharing your time with me, and do join me for chapter 2 for more interesting stories that Rinpoche has shared with Pastor David. And so with that, we end this with a completion dedication in English. May the precious body-mind where it is not born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious emptiness where it is not born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. May this merit accumulated by myself and others beneficially serve all sentient beings and the Buddha Dhamma, and especially may the essential teachings of the unerring Master Tsongkhapa become clear and enduring. In all my rebirths, may I not be parted from perfect gurus. Let me enjoy the abundance of the Dharma, perfecting the qualities, stages, and paths. May I quickly attain the rank of Vrajadhara Buddha. By this virtue, may I quickly realize Guru Buddhahood and transfer each sentient being into that enlightened state. May all conducive conditions arise and all obstacles be pacified in order to increase infinitely the doctrine of the spiritual king Tsongkhapa. By the merits of the 3 times of myself and others, may the doctrine of Lama Tsongkhapa blaze forever. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the 3 jewels grant us their blessing. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the paths of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. May the holy teachers have long lives. May the enlightened activities be fully displayed in the 10 directions. And may the brightness of the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa continuously dissipate the veil of darkness covering the beings of the 3 realms. In this land encircled by snow mountains, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in this life until samsara's end. Whom grant me here and now appropriate attainments without exception. Grant increase of the entourage, teachings, and wealth, O mighty Shukden. Thank you, and see you for my next sharing.